Commander Taiwan stared at the large screen showing the battle. His eyes were tired from watching so many Alliance ships disappear. Each light that went out meant more friends lost to the enemy. The Crack's dominion was winning, and there seemed to be nothing anyone could do about it. "Sir, we've lost the entire third defense line," said Lieutenant Jury. Her voice was quiet but steady. She had been awake for 3 days straight, just like Taiwan. The command room of Alliance Station. Epsilon was filled with the sounds of urgent messages and quiet despair. Officers from 6 different alien species worked at their stations, but none had good news to share. "How many ships do we have left?" asked Taiwan. "Less than 1/3 of our fleet, sir. The Arcturian ships are all gone. The Cephe have only 2 cruisers left." Taiwan nodded slowly. He had expected this answer, but hearing it still felt like a punch to his stomach. 7 years of war against the Cracks, and now they were facing the end. "The Cracks' fleet will reach our position in 4 days, continued Jury. "Their main battle group is moving faster than we predicted." Captain Do Hyun approached with a datapad. His uniform was wrinkled, and dark circles shadowed his eyes. "Commander, the human representative is requesting an emergency council meeting." Tae-won frowned. The humans were the newest members of the Alliance, having joined only 30 years ago. They were considered the least advanced of all 7 species. Their ships were slower, their weapons weaker. Most Alliance members viewed humans as brave but primitive allies. "What could they possibly want now?" asked Tae-won. "Their small fleet was nearly destroyed in the last battle." "She didn't say, sir, only that it was urgent." Tae-won sighed and stood up from his command chair. His back ached from sitting too long. "Very well. Tell the council I'll be there in 10 minutes. As he walked through the station's corridors, Tae-won passed refugees from planets already taken by the Cracks. Families huddled together, children slept on makeshift beds, and medical teams treated the wounded. This station was one of the last safe places in this part of the galaxy, and soon it wouldn't be safe either. The council chamber was a large round room with 7 tall chairs, 1 for each species. Most of the seats were empty now. Many leaders had died when their homeworlds fell. Taiwan took his place as the standing representative for his people. Admiral Han, the human representative, stood in the center of the room. She was shorter than most Alliance species, but carried herself with unusual calm given the circumstances. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I know how busy you all are." High Minister Ki-ho of the Chefei leaned forward. His blue skin seemed paler than usual. "What is so important, Admiral? We are in the middle of planning an evacuation." Admiral Han looked at each council member before speaking. "My government asks that you hold your position for 3 more days before retreating." The room erupted in angry voices. "Impossible! We'll all be destroyed. Have you seen the battle reports?" Ki-ho raised his hand for silence. "Admiral Han, we cannot hold against the Cracks for 3 more days. We don't have enough ships or weapons." "I understand how it looks," said Admiral Han, "but I'm asking you to trust Earth just this once." Tae-won studied the human carefully. "Do you have some kind of plan?" "Yes." "Would you care to share it with the Council?" Admiral Han's expression didn't change. "I'm afraid I cannot at this time." More angry shouts filled the room. Ki-ho stood up, his tall frame towering over the human. "You ask us to risk everything on blind faith? The fate of our remaining people?" "Yes," said Admiral Han simply. 3 days. That's all we ask." After hours of heated debate, the council remained divided. Half wanted to begin evacuation immediately. The other half, including Taiwan, were curious about what the humans could possibly offer. "We will vote," announced Ki-ho. "Those in favor of waiting 3 days as the humans request?" Taiwan raised his hand along with 2 others. 3 against 3. "It seems we are at an impasse," said Ki-ho. Taiwan stood up. "Perhaps we can compromise. We'll continue preparing for evacuation, but delay the actual retreat for 3 days. That way, if the human plan fails, we lose little time." The council agreed to this arrangement, though many remained skeptical. As they left the chamber, Tae-won approached Admiral Han. "I hope you know what you're doing," he said quietly. The human looked up at him with strange confidence. "So do I, Commander." Over the next 2 days, Tae-won watched as the Crack's fleet drew closer. He also noticed Admiral Han sending coded messages back to Earth every few hours. Whatever the humans were planning, it involved a lot of communication. On the morning of the third day, Tae-won was awakened by urgent calls. He rushed to the command center to find Lieutenant Ju-ri staring at her screen in disbelief. "Sir, you need to see this," she said. Tae-won looked at the display and felt his breath catch. New ships were appearing on the sensors, hundreds of them, then thousands. "Where are they coming from?" he asked. "Are the sensors malfunctioning?" "No, sir, they're real ships and they're broadcasting Earth identification codes." The main screen lit up with the image of Admiral Han. She was no longer wearing her Alliance uniform, but instead dressed in the formal attire of the Earth Defense Force. "This is Admiral Han of the Earth Defense Fleet," she announced. "We have arrived as promised. Please stand by for coordination of joint defensive operations." The command center fell silent as everyone stared at the screen. Thousands of human warships had appeared seemingly from nowhere, larger and more advanced than anything the Alliance had ever seen from Earth before. Tae-won felt something he hadn't felt in years: hope. "It seems," he said slowly, "that our human friends have been keeping secrets." The council chamber erupted into chaos after Admiral Han's announcement. The large screens showed thousands of human ships that had appeared from nowhere. These weren't the small, simple vessels everyone knew humans to build. These were massive warships with designs no one had ever seen before. "This is impossible," said High Minister Kehoe, his blue skin flushing with anger. "Where did they hide such a fleet? How did our sensors not detect them?" Tae-won watched the screens with amazement. The human ships moved with incredible speed and precision, taking up defensive positions around the Alliance's remaining forces. "We need answers," he said, turning to Admiral Han's image on the screen. "How long have you been hiding this fleet?" Admiral Han's face remained calm. "Since before we joined the Alliance, Commander. We've been building in secret for over 50 years. The room fell silent. Humans had only made first contact with the Alliance 30 years ago. They had appeared primitive, just learning to travel beyond their solar system. "That's not possible," said General Minsu. "When your people joined us, you barely had faster-than-light technology." Han smiled slightly. "That's what we wanted everyone to believe." Kehoe slammed his fist on the table. "You deceived us, your own allies." "We deceived everyone," Han replied, "including the cracks, and now that deception will save us all." Tae-won thought back to his first encounter with humans 10 years earlier. He had been a junior officer, assigned to escort a human mining vessel through a dangerous sector. They had been ambushed by Crake's scouts, 3 warships against 1 unarmed miner. "Sir, human ship should have been destroyed in seconds. Instead, something strange happened. The Crack ship suddenly lost power and drifted in space. The human vessel, seemingly damaged, limped away to safety. The official report said it was a lucky malfunction in the enemy ships." Tae-won had believed that explanation at the time. Now he wasn't so sure. "How many other accidents were you doing?" he asked. Han's eyes met his through the screen. "Enough to learn their weaknesses without revealing ours." The tactical display showed the Crack's fleet changing formation, obviously surprised by the sudden appearance of the human armada. For the first time in the war, the enemy seemed unsure. "The council will meet in 1 hour," announced Kehoe. "Admiral Han, you will explain everything." When the council gathered again, Admiral Han stood in the center of the room, now wearing the full dress uniform of Earth's fleet. It was black and silver, not the blue of the Alliance. "Why did Earth hide its true strength?" asked Tae-won. Han looked around the room before answering. "Earth has a long history of conflict. Before we united our planet, we fought countless wars among ourselves. That history taught us caution." "Caution? You mean distrust," said Kehoe. "Yes," Han admitted. "When we first met other species, we hoped for the best but prepared for the worst. It's our way." General Minsu leaned forward. "So you pretended to be weak while building weapons in secret?" "We built shelters, not just weapons," said Han. "Hidden shipyards in asteroid belts, bases inside moons and gas giants, places where we could survive if the worst happened." Tae-won suddenly understood. "You weren't sure if the Alliance would last." Han nodded. "We've seen. Alliances fail before. On Earth they often do. And these ships? asked Kehoe, pointing to the display. "They're far beyond what you showed us." "We shared some technology but kept our most advanced developments secret," Han explained. "Not just weapons, but stealth systems, gravity manipulation, new forms of energy." The council members looked at each other in disbelief. The humans had been playing a long game, one that no one had suspected. "Why reveal yourselves now?" asked Taewon. "Why not stay hidden?" Admiral Han's expression softened for the first time. "Because despite our caution, we've come to believe in this alliance. We've fought beside you, bled with you. We won't watch you fall when we have the power to help." A junior officer rushed into the room and whispered something to General Min-Soo, whose eyes widened. "The Crack's fleet is changing course," he announced. "They're moving to attack the human ships first." Han nodded, as if expecting this. "They recognize the threat. Good." "Good?" asked Kehoe. "Their main force is heading toward your fleet. That's exactly what we want," said Han. She tapped a device on her wrist and a new hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed battle plans and ship movements. "This is our strategy. We need your remaining forces to attack from these positions when we give the signal." Taewon studied the plan with growing respect. It was brilliant, but risky. "These maneuvers," he said, "your ships would take heavy damage protecting ours." "Yes," said Han simply. Kehoe stared at the human with new eyes. "You would sacrifice your hidden fleet, the one you spent decades building in secret. What good is a fleet that hides while allies die?" Han asked. "We built these ships to protect life. Now we'll use them." For a moment no one spoke. Then Taewon stood up. "I trust them," he announced. "The humans have had many chances to abandon us. They never did." One by one, the other council members nodded in agreement. "Very well," said Kehoe finally. "We will follow your plan, Admiral Han. May it be as effective as it is unexpected." As they prepared to return to their posts, Taewon pulled Admiral Han aside. "There's something I've been wondering," he said quietly. "Did Earth ever consider using this fleet against the Alliance?" Han looked at him steadily. "We considered every possibility, Commander. That's how we survived this long." It wasn't exactly a denial, Taewon noted, but it was honest. And oddly, that made him trust her more. Lieutenant Juri's fingers flew across her console as she tried to make sense of the data flooding her screens. The human ships were unlike anything she had ever seen before. They moved in ways that seemed to break the laws of physics. "These readings can't be right," she said to Commander Taewon. "According to our sensors, some of these vessels are bending light around themselves." Taewon leaned closer to look at her display. "That's why we never detected them before. They've had stealth technology all along." The command center of Alliance Station Epsilon was buzzing with activity. Officers who had been preparing for evacuation just hours ago were now coordinating with the human fleet for a counterattack against the Cracks. Captain Do-hyun approached with a tablet showing the latest scans. "Sir, you need to see this. The human ships aren't just advanced. They're completely different from what they've shown us for decades. The scans revealed engines that used some form of gravity manipulation instead of the standard drives. Weapon systems that could disrupt shield harmonics, communication arrays that seemed to work instantly across vast distances without the usual lag." "How did they keep all this secret?" asked Juri. "They visited our planets, traded with us, fought alongside us. They showed us what they wanted us to see," said Taewon, "and we believed it because it matched our expectations of a young spacefaring species." A message came through from the council chamber. Admiral Han was requesting Taewon's presence for a detailed briefing. As he made his way through the station, he noticed the change in the atmosphere. Just hours ago, people had been preparing for the end. Now there was cautious hope in their eyes. When he arrived, Admiral Han was standing before a large holographic display of the sector. With her was a human he hadn't met before, a tall man with grey hair and a serious face. "Commander Taewon," said Han. "This is Fleet Admiral Suho, commander of Earth's First Defense Fleet." The older human nodded respectfully. "Commander, I apologize for the deception your people have experienced." Taewon returned the nod stiffly. "I understand why you did it, but trust works both ways, Admiral." "Yes," said Suho. "That's why we're here to share everything now. With a wave of his hand, the hologram changed to show the true extent of human military power. Hidden bases throughout the galaxy, shipyards built inside asteroids, monitoring stations disguised as natural formations. For 30 years, explained Suho, while officially joining the Alliance, we were building this shadow fleet. Every civilian ship we sent had officers observing and reporting back. Every trading mission gathered intelligence. Every joint military exercise taught us about potential allies and enemies alike. You were preparing for everyone to become your enemy, said Taiwan. Suho's expression didn't change. We were preparing for everything. It's what humans do. Admiral Han stepped forward. Commander, what matters now is that we've chosen our side. We're fighting with you, not against you. The hologram shifted again to show the approaching cracks. Fleet. Their ships had reorganized, focusing their attack on the human vessels rather than the remaining Alliance forces. They recognize the threat we pose, said Suho. Good. That's part of our strategy. He expanded part of the hologram, showing a formation of human ships moving to engage the Crack's vanguard. As Taiwan watched, the ships seemed to flicker and then partially disappear from view. Active camouflage, explained Han. Not perfect. Invisibility, but enough to confuse their targeting systems. Is that how your mining vessel escaped the Crack scouts 10 years ago? Asked Taiwan, remembering the incident. Han glanced at Suho before answering. That was actually one of our test runs. We needed to see how effective our technology was against their sensors without revealing our full capabilities. You used a fake mining ship as bait, said Taiwan, understanding now. With volunteers who knew the risks, added Suho. We've never stopped preparing for this moment, Commander. A communications officer interrupted with an urgent message. The Crack's fleet had launched its first attack against the human ships. Everyone turned to the main viewer. What they saw was astonishing. As Crack's energy weapons fired, the human vessels didn't try to dodge. Instead, they activated some kind of field that absorbed the energy and then redirected it back at the attackers. Quantum reflection shields, said Han. They can turn an enemy's weapons against them, but only for short periods. The battle unfolded with the humans revealing one advanced technology after another. Ships that could project gravity wells to trap enemy vessels, weapons that phased through standard shields, communication systems that allowed the entire fleet to coordinate perfectly, as if sharing one mind. This is why you asked us to wait 3 days, said Taiwan, watching as the Crack's lines began to break. You needed time to bring your fleet into position. Suho nodded. The largest military deployment in Earth's history, ships coming from hiding places throughout the galaxy, timed to arrive simultaneously. As they watched the battle, Taiwan noticed something strange. Your vessels are taking damage they could avoid. They're deliberately protecting our ships. Yes, said Han simply. That was always the plan. Even after hiding from us, not trusting us, you're sacrificing your ships for ours. Suho's face showed emotion for the first time, a hint of sadness. Distrust and sacrifice aren't opposites, Commander. Sometimes they're two sides of the same instinct. Survival. The tactical display showed the Crack's fleet beginning to retreat from the combined might of the human armada and the remaining Alliance forces. For the first time in 7 years of war, they were running away. They'll regroup, warned Suho. And when they do, they'll bring everything they have. This was just their forward fleet. Taiwan looked at the two human admirals with new understanding. Their species had never been what they seemed. They had played a long, patient game, hiding their strength until the moment it was most needed. I have one question, he said. If the Alliance had fallen before this moment, if we had been defeated last year or the year before, would you have revealed yourselves then? Han and Suho exchanged a glance. We reveal only what we must when we must, said Suho finally. It's how we've survived this long. It wasn't really an answer, thought Taiwan, but perhaps it was the most honest one he would get. The main battle began 4 hours after the human fleet's arrival. Commander Taiwan stood at his post on Alliance Station Epsilon, watching the tactical displays with a mixture of hope and disbelief. For 7 years, the Alliance had been losing the war. Now, in a single day, everything had changed. The Crack's main battle group has arrived, announced Lieutenant Jury. 5,000 ships, their Supreme Commander's vessel is at the center. On the large screen, red dots appeared representing the enemy fleet. It was the largest Krax force anyone had ever seen. In the past, such a sight would have meant certain defeat. Today, it felt different. All Alliance vessels, take defensive positions as planned, ordered Taewon. Follow Admiral Han's coordination signals. The battle that followed was unlike anything in recorded history. The human ships fought with tactics no one had seen before. Some vessels deliberately allowed themselves to be hit, absorbing enemy fire while other ships moved into attack position. Others seemed to vanish from sensors, only to reappear behind enemy lines. General Minsu watched with wide eyes as a group of smaller human ships surrounded a massive Krax battleship. Instead of firing weapons, they projected some kind of energy field. The enemy vessel's own weapons suddenly turned inward, tearing it apart from within. "What just happened?" he asked. "Resonance technology," explained Admiral Suho, who had come to the Alliance Command Center to coordinate. "We can temporarily take control of certain energy systems if we surround them completely." "That's impossible," said Minsu. "Shield harmonics can't be redirected like that." Suho almost smiled. "Many things thought impossible are merely waiting for someone desperate enough to try them." As the battle raged, Taewon noticed another strange human tactic. Their ships were taking damage they could have avoided, positioning themselves to protect Alliance vessels, even at great cost to themselves. "Squadron 7, pull back," he ordered, as he saw a group of Alliance cruisers moving too close to a Krax heavy weapons platform. "Belay that," countered Admiral Han from her flagship. "Keep them on course. Human Defense Group 3 will provide cover." Before Taewon could object, 3 large human warships moved between the Alliance cruisers and the Krax platform. They took devastating hits that should have destroyed them. Instead, their hulls glowed with strange blue light, somehow holding together despite massive damage. "What are those ships made of?" asked Juri in amazement. "Layered nanomaterials. With self-repair properties," said Suho. "They can absorb significant damage, but not indefinitely." Sure enough, one of the human ships finally broke apart under the Krax assault, but its sacrifice had allowed the Alliance cruisers to get close, enough to destroy the weapons platform. Hour after hour, the battle continued. The Krax, famous for their adaptive tactics, seemed unable to counter the human strategies. Each time they adjusted to one approach, the human fleet would switch to something completely different. "They can't predict what we'll do next because we're deliberately using tactics that make no logical sense," explained Han during a brief communication break. "Krax battle computers are programmed for optimal efficiency. Our ships are deliberately being inefficient in ways their systems can't anticipate." "You're being chaotic on purpose," realized Taewon. Han nodded. "Controlled chaos is humanity's specialty." By the 8th hour of battle, the Krax fleet had lost nearly a third of its ships. The Alliance and human forces had suffered losses too, but far fewer than expected. For the first time, victory seemed possible. That's when the Krax Supreme Commander made his move. "Energy buildup detected in the enemy flagship," reported Juri. "It's massive, like nothing we've seen before." The tactical display showed the Krax command vessel moving to the center of their formation. Smaller ships formed protective rings around it as a strange purple glow began to emanate from its hull. "What are they doing?" asked Minsu. "Admiral." Suho's face darkened. "They're preparing to use their final weapon. We suspected they had one, but weren't sure of its capabilities." "What kind of weapon?" asked Taewon. "If our intelligence is correct, it can create a localized space-time rupture. Essentially, it tears a hole in reality itself." The command center fell silent as everyone processed this information. Such a weapon could destroy not just ships, but entire planets. "Can we stop it?" Taewon finally asked. Han and Suho exchanged glances. "We have a plan," said Han, "but it will cost us." Suho turned to his communications officer. "Signal all human vessels. Initiate Protocol Omega." The effect was immediate and astonishing. All across the battlefield, human ships broke off from their current engagements and began moving toward the Krax flagship in a complex, synchronized pattern. "What are they doing?" asked Juri. "Something we hoped we wouldn't have to try," replied Suho quietly. On the display, they watched as human ships formed concentric rings around the enemy command vessel, mirroring its own defensive formation. The purple glow from the Crack's weapon was growing brighter, pulsing with dangerous energy. "All Alliance vessels, withdraw to minimum safe distance," ordered Han. "I repeat, all Alliance ships pull back immediately." Taiwan hesitated, then gave the order for their remaining ships to retreat. Something about the humans' formation seemed familiar to him, a pattern he had seen before but couldn't quite place. "It's a resonance field," he suddenly realized, "like what they used on the battleship, but much larger." Suho nodded. "Yes, but this time we're not trying to redirect their weapons. We're going to contain and reflect the space-time rupture back on itself." "Is that possible?" asked Minsu. "Theoretically," said Suho. "We've never had to test it at this scale." The purple energy from the Crack's flagship reached its peak intensity. For a moment, space itself seemed to bend around it, stars visibly shifting position when viewed through the distortion. Then the human ships activated their resonance field. Blue energy connected each vessel to the next, forming a perfect sphere around the enemy command ship. When the Crack's weapon finally discharged, the purple energy crashed against the blue barrier and stopped. For several seconds, nothing seemed to happen. Then slowly the purple energy began to flow backward, drawn back toward the ship that had created it. "They did it," whispered Juri. "They turned the weapon against itself." The Crack's flagship and its surrounding escort ships vanished in a blinding flash as the space-time rupture collapsed in on itself. When the light faded, nothing remained but scattered debris. The remaining Crack's vessels, seeing their leadership and ultimate weapon destroyed, began to retreat. "We've won," said Minsu, his voice filled with disbelief. But Taiwan noticed Admiral Suho's solemn expression. "How many human ships did we lose in that maneuver?" 147 vessels, replied Suho. "With all hands, a deliberate sacrifice to ensure victory." Taiwan looked at the human admiral with new understanding. These people had hidden their true strength for decades, yet when the moment came, they had given everything to protect allies who had never fully trusted them. The Alliance had much to learn from humanity. 3 days after the Great Battle, Alliance Station Epsilon was still busy with repair crews and medical teams. The station had become the temporary headquarters for both Alliance and human forces. In the observation deck, Commander Taiwan stood alone, looking out at the stars and the ships moving between them. Many of those ships were human vessels he had never seen before the battle. Some had strange designs that still made no sense to him. Others were being repaired, their damaged hulls showing the price they had paid for victory. The door opened behind him, and Admiral Han entered. She was wearing a simple uniform now without the formal decorations from the battle. "Commander," she said with a small bow. "I hoped I might find you here." Taiwan nodded in greeting. "Admiral, I thought you would be busy with your fleet. Admiral Suho is handling the repairs. I wanted to speak with you." She came to stand beside him at the window. "Your people fought well." "As did yours," said Taiwan, "though I'm still not sure they are the same people we thought we knew all these years." Han smiled slightly. "We are the same people. You just didn't know all of us." For a moment they watched the ships in silence. A large human vessel moved past the window, its hull showing signs of heavy damage. Workers in spacesuits crawled over its surface, making repairs. "That ship," said Taiwan, pointing to it. "It positioned itself between 3 of our cruisers and a Crack's attack group. It could have moved to safety, but it didn't." "Why?" "Because that was its purpose," replied Han simply. "To protect. Even after hiding your true strength from us for decades, even after preparing for the possibility that we might become your enemies," Han turned to face him fully. "Especially because of that." She gestured toward the stars. "Look out there, Commander. What do you see?" "Ships, yours and ours." "I see something different," said Han. "I see the future of the galaxy, not divided by species or old grudges, but united by what we learned in this battle." Taiwan crossed his arms. "And what is that?" "That trust must be earned, not given. That strength is measured by what you're willing to sacrifice, not just what you can destroy. And that sometimes the best allies are those who question everything, including their allies." A group of Alliance officers passed by. nodding respectfully to Taiwan and casting curious glances at Han. News of the human deception had spread quickly throughout the station. Some were angry, others impressed. No one was indifferent. "The Alliance Council is meeting tomorrow," said Taiwan. "They will have many questions for Earth." "I would expect nothing less," replied Han. "We are prepared to answer them honestly." "All of them?" asked Taiwan with a raised eyebrow. "All that we can," said Han. "Some secrets protect more than just humans." Taiwan had suspected as much. "You've discovered things out there that you haven't shared, things beyond the cracks." Han didn't confirm or deny this. Instead, she changed the subject. "Your people have a saying about how the strongest metal is forged in the hottest fire. Humans have a similar one." "This war has certainly been a hot enough fire," said Taiwan. "Yes, and now we see what kind of alliance will emerge from it." A message came through on Taiwan's communicator. The High Council was requesting his presence for a preliminary meeting before tomorrow's full session. "I must go," he said. "The Council wants to hear my report on the battle." Han nodded. "What will you tell them?" Taiwan considered the question carefully. "The truth, that humans are not what we thought they were, that you hid your strength and your technology for reasons that made sense to you, and that when the moment came to choose between revealing your secrets and letting the Alliance fall, you chose to fight beside us. And do you think that will be enough for them to trust us again?" "Trust is earned slowly," said Taiwan, echoing her earlier words. "But your actions in the battle speak louder than the deception that came before." Han seemed satisfied with this answer. As Taiwan turned to leave, she called after him, "Commander, there's one more thing you should know before your meeting." He stopped and looked back. "Yes?" "The fleet you saw in the battle. It wasn't all of them." Taiwan felt a chill run down his spine. "How many more ships do you have?" Han met his gaze steadily. "Enough to make sure what happened with the cracks never happens again. To anyone." With those words hanging in the air, she turned back to the window. Taiwan left the observation deck with his mind racing. The alliance had indeed been forged anew in the fire of battle, but into what shape remained to be seen. The next day, the full council chamber was packed with representatives from all 7 species. The atmosphere was tense, but not hostile. After 7 years of losing the war, victory had a way of softening even the harshest criticisms. Admiral Han stood before them, flanked by Admiral Suho and other human officers. Their faces were calm as they faced the questions and accusations. "Why should we ever trust Earth again?" demanded Kiho, his voice echoing in the chamber. Admiral Han stepped forward. "You shouldn't," she said, surprising everyone. "Not blindly. No species should ever trust another without question. That was our mistake when we first joined the stars. We believed too easily. We hoped too much." She looked around the room. "But you should work with us, learn from us as we have learned from you. Because what we discovered in this war is that we need each other. Humans need the wisdom and patience of the older species. And perhaps you need our caution and our willingness to prepare for the worst." Taiwan listened from his seat on the council. He thought about the hidden human fleet still out there among the stars, about the secrets they kept and the sacrifices they had made, about trust slowly earned and quickly lost. And he thought about the future, a galaxy where humans and the Alliance species work together as true equals, each bringing their strengths and acknowledging their weaknesses. It would not be easy. But as he looked at the stars through the council chamber's large windows, Taiwan felt something he hadn't felt in a very long time. Hope.